Where's the YouTube video? Where's the YouTube video? Hey, Monica. Hey, Monica, we're waiting on the YouTube video. Hey, Monica, where's the YouTube video? Where's the YouTube video, Monica? Where is it? You said you'd be back, Monica. Where is the YouTube video, Monica? Where is the... It's here! So here's what happened. Basically my goal was to post weekly, and then I had a total meltdown when I went to record the second video. Then I was like, okay, never mind. I'll just post bi-weekly. And then I hit the exact same wall I had hit the week prior, even though I had more time to decompress between posting the first video, the boundaries video. Then the third week came, and I was like, well, it's a holiday, so I'm definitely not going to do this now. And I had guests over, and I was super busy, so I was like, all right, I'm posting now, right? So here's a third try at this same video. Funny enough, the thing that the video is about is what I struggled with the most, which is doubt. Lately, I've been feeling like I'm doing much better, and I definitely am. I'm really proud of myself for a lot of my recent changes, and I am starting to see how consistency pays off, from like regularly washing my dishes to finally doing tasks that I've been putting off for years. Like, I'm actually following through on things, and it's super great, but it's also exhausting. I've always struggled with balancing the highs and lows, you know, like the act of getting better, and I'm clear to say act because getting better requires action. The act of getting better is more painful than not even trying at all often, than just letting yourself exist in what you've grown to see as your default mode of operation, which is depression or low self-image or whatever the case may be. When you're sad, at least you can count on feeling only that way. It's kind of like static or like white noise. It's consistent. And choosing to take action and getting better it feels terrible for weeks, even months, maybe years. And I've been going through those highs and lows for like months now, right? And I guess I was having a really high week. I was feeling really good and motivated, and was like, I'm gonna share all these thoughts and tips. And even though like I wasn't super confident about the original script I had written, I like literally rewrote the whole script. I threw 7 pages single space out the window, and I said, I'm writing 7 pages single space once again. But even though I wasn't super confident about the script, like I knew when it came down to recording it, I would be able to finesse it, as I had done the week prior for the boundaries video. And then I couldn't do it. On one hand, I was already super overwhelmed by all the feedback I was getting from the last video, which is like exciting, of course, but the content was like really heavy and emotional. And as I tried to do this new video, and the video was supposed to be on self-doubt and imposter syndrome, it was basically what I was struggling with in the moment. And I just couldn't do it. And here's the thing, there's like, I can't do it, but I know that when I do it, I'll feel better and it's the right thing to do. And then there's like, I can't do it and it'll kill a part of my soul if I force myself to do it. And this was like the latter. And it is like super dramatic in retrospect, but that level of not being able to do what I don't want to do is one of the traits that I credit with getting me to where I am today. It forces me to problem solve. But it's like extremely painful. I want to be clear to not romanticize it, because I want to be able to just do things. Even if I don't absolutely love it, even if I'm not the most confident about it or whatever, maybe I just hope to feel more productive or normal or functional. Ideally, I'd only want to create things I deem truthful and like, you know, worthwhile. But in reality, I just want to not be so affected, to not feel so pressured when it comes to doing things, for it to not feel like I'm going against my nature, to not feel like I'm the problem, to stop trying to push through my problems by force and then being mad at myself for not being able to perform. And it was all just extra intense too, because all of my feelings had to do with what I was saying in the video, which is why it hurt so much. In the video, I'm reading off my script, advice I couldn't take in the moment because I was so full of doubt that I couldn't perform. And I didn't want to. I felt like I was lying to myself and to you guys about having things figured out, and that's so far from the truth. So I do want to give this another shot because this is an important conversation, and it's something that I'm currently going through and a lot of us are going through. but I want to approach it from a more like casual, relaxed place, and not so like I'm gonna tell you about this, because it was given like self-help guru, you know, and I was just like, when did I graduate from the self-help academy, bro? Like what's going on? Like, let's be real. Let me talk how I talk. It just felt too like I have a tendency to like talk at people or use a lot of words, like really big words, just because it's fun. And I was like, who is this serving? Like, this is just painful to read through. So this is where we are today. I think a lot of the general frustration I've had with life up until this point, and likely beyond, when I inevitably lose sight of all the things I've learned through habits I've slowly built for the millionth time in my life. But yeah, one of my greatest frustrations is how things just continually suck, right? It sounds naive, but I think a lot of our struggle is because we're working towards not feeling any pain or discomfort, which is like fundamentally not possible. And it's not our fault. I think there's this constant pressure to do more, to be happier, to constantly feel something, you know? This idea of I'm happy here now, but I could possibly be happier over there. And that's like normal in our culture to an extent, but our frustration gets further intensified when you start to feel bad about it. Like, not solely feeling bad about your immediate circumstance, but the added layer of making yourself feel worse about not doing more or wanting more. Like, what did Drake say? Like, everybody dies, but not everybody lives. I have a certain lust for life. Like, I credit half of whatever existential dread I have today to me hearing that bar at 15, right? Like, it's just like this added layer of pressure. Like, bro, like, it feels like I'm living. I'm not living, and some people are living, and I'm not living. Like, it's kind of messed up, right? YOLO is another one. YOLO is so anxiety inducing. You only live once. Ooh, you only live once. Go do something. You only live once, bro. Like, leave us alone, Drake. Drake is a barometer, in my view, of our collective values as a society, since he's so, like, he's reached, like, Greek god status. Like, we don't even have to, like, talk about whether you like Drake's music or not. Like, his bars are a reflection of our current, like, societal values. And during that era, and even more so now, there was this, like, it's absurd, bro. Like, this added pressure to, like, live when you're like literally living. It's absurd, right? And I only get passionate about it because I think this like viewpoint robs us of the present and adds so much pressure to all of our actions. And for some personality types, for sure, I think it helps them. I think it pushes them to follow their dreams, like whatever that may mean. But I just feel like it places really unfair expectations of your everyday, as if not feeling ecstatic, like your life is a movie. It means you're not doing enough, and you're going to grow to regret it. So you go from like regular FOMO, and FOMO is like fear of missing out. You go from like regular FOMO when you're viewing things like this, you're just spending a quiet night in, and you're like, maybe I should go turn up. I don't know. I only live once. I should be doing something. I'm only 20, but one day I'll be 40 and my life will be over. I need to do everything I can now because time is running out. Like, it's like, bro, you go from like FOMO to like FOMO plus, right? That's not even regular FOMO. FOMO is like, oh, I see my friends are out. I should have gone. That seemed fun. That seemed fun. The FOMO that some of us experience as a result of like a lot of this unnecessary pressure and unrealistic expectation of what life is, and like idea that we're not living unless it's like constantly like up here at all times, is like, it's so unfair, bro. Like, you're paying for FOMO premium right now. Like, unsubscribe. Because it's such a huge waste of time, right? It sucks the fun out of absolutely everything. You're here now enjoying your evening, but all you could think about is where you could be. Not even should be, where you could be. We have unlimited like options. Maybe I should go do this, or should go do that, or like, you know, it's like it's restlessness, it's anxiety, it's like the constant searching, the constant needing, bro. Like, and I get it. You're never present because you're ashamed of not having enough or being enough. And you look around at people you think have what you want, and you delude yourself into thinking they're better off. And like, okay, like the totally valid access to like shelter, capital, having your flesh prison be a certain complexion, aka our lighter and whiter skinned folks, will definitely make life easier for you. Like, that's definitely for sure. But outside of these societal truths, these current societal truths, I think it's also important to view it from your own personal journey. There will never be a single thing that will solve all of your problems like indefinitely. There is no cure to suffering. Euphoria season 1, episode 7 is my favorite episode like ever because it paints such a vibrant image of the highs and lows of depression. During Rue's monologue about depression and how debilitating it is, she talks about how these bad moments will wax and wane. Waxing and waning means like increase and decrease, will come and will go, like the moon cycles. That's why they have a waxing gibbous or a waning crescent or what have you. It tracks like how the moon goes from small to big to small. Like, it's just like, it's the constant cycle. But Rue goes on to say, I had a therapist once who said that these states will wax and wane, which gave my mother relief because it meant that in the bad times, there would be good times. But it also gave her anxiety because it meant that in the good times, there would be bad times. It always confused me because I didn't really know what it meant. But it did sound a lot calmer than the way I would describe it. Granted, I didn't realize until later what waxing and waning implied. That these feelings were fixed and constant and would never end for the rest of my life. Similarly to the phases of the moon, Rue is describing a pattern that is fixed. And here's the thing that I love about comparing it to natural phenomena is that, like, it's so big, it's so beyond. Nature is the most powerful thing ever. It's the thing that holds like no bias, like bar environmental racism and classism. But if an asteroid comes and like decides to take us, we are going. Like, it's over. So with the waxing and the waning of the moon also comes the rising and fall of the tides. Like the rising and falling, it's like a never-ending loop, and it's like nauseating, and you feel your entire being drowned and washed up time and time again, helpless. Rue is describing helplessness, you know? And I think that's such a common feeling. That's a feeling that I've struggled with for so long. And let's be clear, Rue's character is experiencing severe mental health issues. This, in a sense, is describing her diagnosed, probably like clinical depression. I don't know her diagnosis. So I don't want to make light of that and make this experience like overly poetic or romanticized, even if I myself struggle with mental health. I just related so much to this whole episode and this feeling of being trapped by your very nature. The waxing and the waning for me, the highs and the lows, the anguish, the anger, the pain of having my own joy taken by my circumstances or by my own subconscious. It terrified me into not wanting to get better or rather not even knowing how to get better, into a sort of angst at times over how unfair life is, how unfair it is that all good things come to an end. That life often feels like a series of goodbyes, that nothing will last. Feels so helpless, so much grief for people you've yet to lose, for heartbreaks you've yet to have, for a pain that isn't even present yet. In a lot of my moments of success growing up, graduating, gallery shows, seeing my face on billboards in Times Square, like, I felt nothing. I felt nothing. I could feel it. I could feel it all pass me by. Life literally happening before me. And it just hurt too much to feel joy because I always knew that grief was around the corner. Little mac and cheesy break. This is an ASMR channel now. So I buy the Annie's mac and cheese, and then I think I'm better than you because I add truffle oil on it. The truffle oil I got from Marshall's, so it was discounted. And then I add spring onion too. It's so hot. Okay. Look, I robbed myself of so much joy, and sure, it's my environment, it's the way I was raised, it's society, it's capitalism, it's everything, but it's also me. And I don't say that to be hard on myself, I say that to empower myself. Like, accountability is true love and care. And this is something I've come to recognize as someone that grew up with a phobia of confrontation and was passive, but somehow like super opinionated. I grew to resent people around me, including myself, because I didn't want to confront things in the moment. Sometimes because in reality, it was something I needed to process because how I felt was more about me than it was about them. But other times I prioritized my own self-image, my ego. I didn't want to be someone that was mean or not fun, or I didn't want to get in trouble, to feel invalidated, to be wrong. I didn't want to give someone even a chance to make things better, to give them an opportunity to not fail in my eyes. I'm a Virgo. I'm a little mean. But I've come to realize that telling someone how you feel is a sign of respect. You want to work on what you both have. You want to improve the current circumstances to have a more comfortable and pleasurable relationship rather than withholding how you feel, which is like dishonest and always poisons a relationship in the end. And I'm obviously not perfect and I still struggle with this, but I've been applying it to myself because acknowledging and validating and actually working through how I feel gives me an actual chance at self-improvement, rather than feeling like I should feel different or be someone else, or wanting to not have any feelings and suppress my feelings so I wasn't too much. I never gave myself a fighting chance. I have always, in a sense, punished myself for being myself. Getting better hurts. I'm slightly better at this now, but for the past several weeks since I've started journaling and keeping track of my tasks, my accomplishments, both big and small, holding myself accountable, following through on what I say I will do, and not setting myself up to fail. And even though I've been working on all of that, even after a successful day, as soon as the sun goes down and it's time to relax and rest, I get so horribly sad. Like, I'm generally depressed, but this is like a something is wrong kind of sad. Like, I did something bad kind of sad. Like, I completely lose sight of all that I've managed to get done. I've lost the habit of getting excited about things and working towards something, like a lot of us lost it in the last 2 years. So now when I do good, and by do good, I mean do all the things that I set out to do, and the end of the day approaches, the high of a good day fades and there's this come down, the anguish of having worked so hard just to look around and see you're still in the same reality. It's crushing, and it will make you feel like trying is not worth it. And it's fueled by shame. I'm ashamed of not being where I thought I would be by now, of not being someone that can keep her space clean, of being financially unstable, of being 26 and having to leave my apartment to come back to my parents' house, of watching other people work hard and have careers and seeing myself like so incapable and weak, of watching my potential run out, of not meeting my own expectations. Ashamed that I think this way too, because I know the opposite of it. It's true as well, that this is temporary, that life isn't linear, that I have to be consistent, that it gets better, and life will always have ups and downs. I shouldn't compare myself, and that feeling bad about myself doesn't actually make things better, and blah, 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 blah. And while I sit on the couch with these like two different bullies on my shoulder, right, I am once again robbing myself of my own joy. To be honest though, this is partly a brain thing. Your brain is literally used to certain patterns. So in a sense, I've stopped trying to make myself feel better when it comes to feelings like this. I stopped trying to like think it through and try to like do it rationally. I just take myself to bed. Because when I go through my journal, and this is why keeping a journal can be really great, I know objectively I'm improving. My brain got hands, bro. My brain got hands. So it's going to try to affirm the subconscious and conscious narrative me and my environment like collaborated on to create because it's familiar, right? Like your brain sees everything that's familiar as safe. So your brain's going to literally be like, today was different than all of the other days. Something is wrong here, right? But then you go through your journal, you're like, nah, bro, I'm doing good. Like just go to bed. Like, and this is honestly even more difficult the smarter you are, because your brain's even better at creating like arguments that you can't just like good vibes your way out of. It's like, you've literally looked at it from every single possible angle and created a solid argument. Great, you will never change. Like, but yeah, honestly, I just know I'm doing good because my journal says I'm doing good. I've got like a Pavlov's dog or hamster or whatever, cat. Which one was Pavlov? I got the whole Pavlov thing going on. I'll literally see my journal on the counter and I'll be like, I'm doing good. Like, I look at this and it like releases dopamine for me. I've never been a journaler, bro. Now I get it. I always wanted to growing up, but like, not look at me. I'm following my dreams. Shut up. All right, let me continue. I've started measuring growth in shorter increments of time, and rather than like tussling with my little brain, like I let that girl go to sleep. And when I get up in the morning, I'm like, wow, that was dramatic. Last night was kind of dramatic. And then I like wake up and like I have breakfast, and then the cycle starts all over again. Like, every day is the same thing, right? Until your brain kind of just like gets tired of the drama, your brain will eventually be like, okay, fine, and it will like soften a bit. And I think that's kind of where I'm at now, because like I don't really like feel as weirdly bad anymore at the end of my day. Like I'll have my moments, but it's not like it was a few weeks ago, like intensely. I'd be sitting on my couch like you'd think someone like had died. I'd be like, yo, like I just can't, like, in every day, and like I'm just like, ah, and it's just like, bro, I'm literally doing everything I've been trying to get done. Like I'm on it. Like what is wrong with me? Carrying on. But it's taken, like, it's literally like just having that whole ass meltdown and just going straight to bed with the acknowledgement that today was so hard because you did so much. And even if it was just washing dishes and answering a few emails, like, you have not been doing that for the past few weeks or months or maybe even years, realistically, if you're struggling with like self-doubt and like getting stuff done, right? So that's major labor. That took so much work. You have to give yourself like a fighting chance and let your brain rest. Like, stop wasting time stressing about not being who you thought you'd be, or all the time that you have already wasted and you can never get back. So now it's like too late to even start, because then you have to reflect on all the time wasted, which is too painful. So you'd just rather continue not doing anything and like avoiding like the issue. Just like little baby steps, bro, and like a bedtime. We're big baby energy. That's it. Because here's the thing. Literally all the cliches are true. The art at TJ Maxx and Marshall's, they were right. We make fun of how literal it is and like label people who enjoy it as normies. Like, they don't know. They're not that deep. They're not in on this collective joke. It's so literal. It's not shrouded in metaphor. It's not layered. It's literally the point. Like, it's to the point, which is not ironic. And the thing about Gen Z humor and online humor is that it's all about irony and layers. So a Live, Laugh, Love poster is so beyond cringe. But here's the thing about anything that you regard as cringe, anything that makes you cringe. Things are only cringe when they make us face aspects of ourselves we've yet to resolve. Which in this case is our inner normie. We all crave to live, laugh, love, bro. To enjoy the little things, to like take it one step at a time. All of it is true. It's like, it's so beyond true. And that's why we cringe at it, because we think we're so like beyond it. But it's the point of life. And that's what I'm realizing right now, right? That I need to practice gratitude, and that I need to cherish the small moments, and I need to eat, pray, and love. Like, it sucks, bro. Like, it really is the key to life, is what I've come to learn, right? Period. I drank all my wawa. It's a long journey. The ups and downs are constant, but I think part of getting older is releasing that angst and realizing that fighting it only prolongs the pain. And that pain is like a deep psychic pain, right? Which is why it's such a fight. Giving in sounds like giving up, but it's acceptance rather, and releasing control. Accepting that you cannot live fully without embracing suffering. Seeing the lows as a part of the process and not like a self-fulfilling prophecy of your own perceived worthlessness. I think Western oversimplification and bastardizations of things like karma, for example, are super toxic for healing, because in its false interpretation of its meaning, like the way people be presenting it is literally not what it is, but whatever, it makes it so that in a sense all of your suffering is your fault, and only bad people suffer because they did something to deserve it. And when you're good things happen. It's super manipulative, and it reminds me of a lot of the scare tactics used in a lot of our households growing up, and will inevitably frame all suffering as a reflection of your goodness or like lack thereof, when literally suffering is one of the few constants in this life, like outside of death. I think in the Bible, Genesis is another great example of this. Because of Eve's mistake, because she was bad, we now suffer. Our suffering is presented as our original sin. Having a negative experience is viewed as a reflection of your own negativity. In Old Testament, God went ham. Like, outside of the period pain and the pain of childbearing, like, okay, go crazy with that. He also added in hunger and labor too. He said, because y'all were bad, you're going to have to experience hunger and you are going to have to work for things, which, like, is a really weird way to relate to your own bodily functions, but, like, go wild. But, like, in general, a lot of general literature and our interpretations of it are a reflection of the times. And I think it's extremely hard to, like, rationalize disparity, like why some have and why others don't, which is why I think we come up with, like, sort of, like, different cultural things to, like, rationalize this. And run it through these filters, because it's just kind of like a lot, right? Like, the concept of just, like, just existential dread and, like, suffering, like, why does this all happen? It's a lot. It's a lot. I get it. But it's just kind of like, I think things like this really stop us from living fully. I think it stops us from taking chances, from taking risks that would really move our lives forward. I think it kind of freezes us in time and makes us, like, afraid of taking any action. And when things naturally start to go wrong, especially when you start to reach your 20s, for example. Like, for me, my 20s was the first time where I was truly messing up in a way that I felt like I couldn't control. Like, when I was messing up as a teen, it was kind of like this expected thing, and it was kind of like this rebellious thing, and it was kind of like this spiteful thing, and it was kind of fun in that sense. When I started messing up in my 20s, that was not fun. And I started to really put a lot of pressure on myself, and it kind of stopped me in time. Like, I couldn't really take any action. When things inevitably go wrong, which, like, if you're trying to start your own business, if you're trying to do anything, things are going to go wrong. You start to kind of get in your head about it, and you start to think, maybe it's because I'm a bad person. Maybe it's because I had some negative thoughts. Maybe it's because this, that. Like, and when it's just like, bro, it's literally a part of life. And on top of life itself being hard, now you're just, like, attacking yourself for no reason. Because it's not like, you know, like when you're younger, in a sense, and, like, people are being mean and you're like, I'll show them. I'll show society. But now I'm just like, bro, I don't want to show anybody anything. And here's, like, the revelation in terms of that I've had. I just feel like we'll never know freedom unless we release ourselves from the mental prison of, like, fear. And this sounds like fake deep, but hear me out. I think the only solution to self-doubt is forgiveness and love. And this is shocking. This is a shocking revelation for me. As a Virgo sun, rising Capricorn, moon Capricorn, and are y'all ready for the atomic bomb of a Venus placement? Virgo Venus. You can feel free to send your condolences. Virgo Venus. This just in, y'all. I just learned that you can't, like, internally monologue your way to, like, love and, like, healing and self-improvement. Like, I just found out. But seriously, the things, the abuse, that used to fuel me. The anxiety about everything. It used to, like, get me up and, like, frantically productive. I used to be able to do things out of spite and, like, get an ego boost. Like, I'll show them. All that used to serve me. It literally serves me, like, it literally freezes me from doing anything now. It, like, any anxiety, like, I'm a leaf in the wind. I just, like, whoosh, I fly away. I'm done for, guys. I'm literally done for. And, like, yeah, okay, I have mental health issues. I have always had, for sure. I feel like those percentages that be talking about, like, people's depression, this is a side note, that be talking about, like, the percentage of the population are, like, be lying. I think we're all, like, collectively depressed. I think just some people don't know how to acknowledge it, and some people don't realize it. Like, they don't really, like, aren't aware of their environment to a certain extent. It's kind of sad, but it's like, live your life, yo. But I say that to say, it's like, I don't think I'm like that. I don't think I'm like, I'm so mentally ill. It's just like, or maybe I'm just in a good mood, and when I'm in a good mood, I have a tendency to, like, be like, mental illness? I've never heard of her. It's probably that, which is probably a part of my mental illness. But let's continue. I've never been to a proper, aside from my primary care provider, who was just like, yeah, this shit sound clinical, bro. here, take these antidepressants. And I did that for a year. I've never gotten an actual diagnosis because I'm like, oh, it's kind of like the spice of life. But I'm sure I'll look back on like this experience like in a few years when I actually get the proper help I need, and I'll be like, why were you just like allowing yourself to struggle, girl? Like, the resources were out there and I knew about them. I just was just like, I don't know. It's my spark. But yeah, like I grew up in a super critical environment, and I have found what I've realized over the last like few years is that my own internal monologue has started to take their tone, has started to like echo the tone of the environment that I grew up in. And now that I'm like a little bit past, like, you know, a few months past the beginning of this year, at the beginning of this year, I like was just mourning, waking up in my mid-20s and for like the first time in my life being full of like some real regret. And like just really like drowning in the shame of not living up to my perceived and expected potential. And to be honest, I stood no chance. Like, no wonder shit went left. The way I've been treating myself, like literally no wonder stuff went left for me. And please be clear, I'm not even being hard on myself right now, said the Virgo. I'm not solely blaming myself. I did what I did with the limited information I had, just as I'm doing right now. But it's validating to recognize that like right now I'm having a hard time because while the world is just like always hard, I was just being so hard on myself, like so unnecessarily hard on myself. I'm saying I am so unnecessarily hard on myself. And like, that's all I knew. And it worked growing up, the fear tactics and all that, until I got burnt out for the final time and I never bounced back. And I'm so used to punishing myself, to withholding joy from myself, to at any uncertainty, judging myself, critiquing myself. And it starts to bleed into all aspects of my environment. It's so messed up. But I've been doing a lot better. The journal helps. Developing better habits help. Taking myself to sleep when I'm too overwhelmed helps. Like, really, like, there's no need to be up at 4 a.m. Like, looking for, like, a dopamine boost on TikTok is what I've recognized. Just go to bed. Like, it sounds, like, overly simple, but just go to bed. Like, little things like that have been making a big difference in my mental health. And I could do a more dedicated video to like a more practical kind of like more practical methods to I guess overcoming these slumps. I am by no means an expert on this, but I can talk about just like my general experience, and it's always like a back and forth for me. I'm always struggling with things, and then I do really good. And I'm like, wow, I've never struggled in my life, and I do really bad. But that's why like having systems in place and better habits in place have been helping like balance me out a bit. So I'd love to like talk about that if you guys are interested in that. Just like let me know. Much. I had an absolutely incredible time. Thank you for your patience, for reaching out, for everyone's kindness, for everyone's openness, for everyone's willingness to share in the comments. I think YouTube has always been my favorite platform as like a consumer. I love to just watch content. But as a creator, it has been such like an intense experience in ways that I could have never expected. You guys are all so welcoming and so beautiful and so just, yeah, I feel very at home here. So thank you all for being patient while I navigate, you know, building new habits and, you know, taking better care of myself. I hope that I can continue to share with y'all, and if all goes well, maybe I'll be back next week. If not, in 2 weeks. And if not, we doing once a month, baby. But either way, y'all getting videos. Thank you so much. And have a good day.